Hi, my name is Nicole Garcia. I live in Los Angeles, California, and I work in unscripted television as a post-production supervisor. My father was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer in 2014, and because his mother had died of breast cancer in her early 50s, his oncologist decided to run a genetic panel. His results came back positive. He carries the BRCA1 genetic mutation, and because of his family history and because he was our father, his oncologist also encouraged my sister and I to test for the gene panel. I, of course, procrastinated and did not get tested until the year after, and that's when I discovered that I carried the BRCA1 gene mutation. And my sister, who is older than me, she also carries the BRCA1 mutation. A few years after my dad's diagnosis, his dad was also diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, so our family history is filled with a lot of cancer. Once I discovered that I have the BRCA1 genetic mutation, I didn't really know what that meant. His doctors were just telling us that we were at a higher risk for breast cancer and obviously for colon cancer because he and his father both were diagnosed with it. When I found out that I carried the BRCA1 genetic mutation, I didn't really know what that meant for my steps. I later discovered an organization called the Breasties. It was founded by Paige Moore and her other co-founders, and she was having her own preventative mastectomy for carrying the BRCA gene as well. And so through her and through the community, I was able to research all my different options, what kind of screenings I should do, and just more information about the BRCA mutation. So I decided to have a preventive mastectomy in 2018. Later on with my reconstruction, I also decided to have a bilateral salpingectomy, which is removing the fallopian tubes, as Vassar's own research through the BRCA mutation has stated that ovarian cancers tend to start in the fallopian tube. So for me, it was also another preventative decision to take care of myself. And knowing that I have the BRCA1 mutation, I felt really empowered to make my own medical decisions, to be able to do things preventatively before I was diagnosed with cancer, since my risk was much higher than the average person. And it was just nice to be able to share that information with my family. My sister has yet to do any of her preventive surgeries, but because she watched my experience, she now feels more empowered to continue doing her own screenings, and later if she decides to have her surgeries, she has me by her side. With my mother being first generation and my dad coming from parents who immigrated here, questioning your figures of authority, such as your doctor, can definitely be challenging. It was always a point of contention in my family and conversations. And then especially with my generation, having access to the internet, we have so much information available at our hands that our parents didn't have. So it was both overwhelming for my parents and also could be somewhat frustrating just because we were questioning what our doctors were saying, but at the same time, we were also providing information that made sense or that offered other answers. And so just being able to have those open discussions with my parents and just, always assuring them we're coming from a good place, and it made things much easier. Culturally speaking, it can be somewhat difficult to have conversations about medical history, mostly because they don't like to talk about bodily functions or anything that's pertaining, I was having a preventative mastectomy, so talking about breasts and having to, because I'm an advocate for BRCA1 mutation in the Latino community, sharing photos that were topless. It was a lot of chisme amongst the family about the stuff that we were discussing, but at the same time, I kept emphasizing to my family, we have to discuss this kind of stuff. We have to stop making it such a taboo discussion, because it's so important to know your own family history, but to also be able to have these conversations because you want to do the best that you can for your own medical decisions, but also take care of your own family. Being able to discuss the BRCA mutation and all the information related to it with a genetic counselor was a huge help. When our family found out that we have the mutation, there wasn't much information specific to the Latino community. So being able to dive into that research with my genetic counselor and then to find organizations like the Vassar Center that had their own research that was ongoing, it empowered me with a lot of information, and it's ongoing, and it's why I've also decided to be an advocate for myself and for the Latino community and to share my own experience, because it is so limited. There are very few Latina women that I've seen go through this. When I was researching reconstruction, there were a few photos of Latina women who had their reconstruction. So knowing how my body would look after the fact was very frustrating because it was predominantly white women. There were very few women of color. And knowing how my body healed, specifically with scarring, and there's keloid scarring, which is specific to melanated skin. And so being able to share that and to discuss that with my genetic counselor to just provide more information for the Latino community. Vassar Center's Latino and BRCA program has been a huge asset. I've been able to find other community members and to be able to access research that is specific to the Latino community has been a huge help, not only for my own journey, but also to be able to share that with my family, specifically with my sister when she's making her own medical decisions, and for her to discuss these topics with her kids. She has 3 kids. They're all under the age of 14, so we're not sure yet if they've inherited the gene from her. But being able to share this information amongst our family and with our community has been a huge blessing. Increasing education around cancer prevention and having information about the BRCA mutations and other genetic mutations, it's a huge asset to the Latino community. There's not much information specifically in Spanish about genetic mutations or just medical information in general, and so being able to advocate for that, to work with organizations like the Vassar Center's Latino initiative, being able to translate medical information and provide that to our families, it's both empowering and it's also spreading information, because we are a very underrepresented community where, most Latino communities don't have access to top hospitals or they don't have research centers available. So being able to provide this kind of information at such a high level in terms of BRCA mutations exist within the Latino community, the education to share about that does not. So being able to combine those 2 things to provide that information, it's very empowering for the community.